Good afternoon, everyone. How are you this afternoon? I am assuming that everyone is out shopping today. Or if you like me, you're just doing it online. I ordered my groceries at about, what time was it? Maybe about 9 o'clock this morning. I ordered my groceries from Walmart. Um, I try to go out as less as possible because of the weather, especially. But today is not that bad. But I think it's a little too warm to be just roaming around outside. Like, they have Stag Festival today in Lane, South Carolina. Um, Even though the temperature is not that high, whenever you're out there for a while and you are just standing around or you're walking around, then it gets hot. So I decided that I would not do the festival this year. I have done it maybe maybe two or three times, but I decided not to do it this year. Every year that I go, I always pack up early and leave, because it's so hot. So I said I'm not even going to do it this year. I did go out, but only a brief moment, just to what did I have to do? Oh, I had to drop off some Amazon packages to take back, and then what else did I do? I stopped by the gas station, and that was about it. I have to go out at 5 o'clock this afternoon in order to pick up my groceries. When my daughter and I were out this morning, we were talking about, what can we get to eat. And when I was out, I wasn't that hungry. But now I'm hungry. So we talked about getting something from Eric Williams. Eric Williams is doing barbecue plates today. So we talked about getting something from him. And what else did we talk about? What other places did we talk about? I think that was the only place that we talked about. There are not a whole lot of places here that we can eat. But yeah, we talked about going to Eric Williams. And as I said, I wasn't hungry at the time, but I am extremely hungry now. So hopefully when I go back out, he will have something left, because I am hungry right now. On yesterday, I took my flu shot, and I also asked about the RSV, RVS, respiratory virus syndrome. Yeah, I also asked about that shot, and she said that I could have gotten them both at the same time. I didn't want to do that, because I remember when I got pneumonia and a flu shot at the same time, and they made me sick together. So I told her, well, I will just take the flu shot today. And she said, well, if you don't take the RVS shot, then you need to wait at least 2 weeks before you take it. And she said if it were her, she said she would wait the 2 weeks also, because if there's a reaction, then what shot is causing the reaction. So it's a good idea, according to the doctor, to wait 2 weeks until you take the other shot. And then I asked her about the COVID shot, and she said that they will have that shot in the end of this month or the 1st of October. So that's another shot that I am going to take. So hopefully all of you are getting your shots and you are keeping up with your shots, because this winter we have a triple threat. I think we had a triple threat last year too, but we have a triple threat with the flu, the COVID, and the RVS. So we want to try to protect ourselves as much as possible. So please get your shots, and please make sure that your children have their shots. There was something else that I wanted to mention. Parents, if you are watching this video, and it doesn't matter where you are parents, but any parent anywhere, if you have children who are in school, please make sure that your students or your children understand respect for everybody. Respect for, one of my rules in my class is respect everyone and everything in the classroom. Everyone and everything. Everything I had to put in there because, there are students who intentionally leave their textbooks around. They intentionally do it. Some of them are doing it to be funny. Some of them are doing it to be funny because after I address them, after I find their books and I give them their books back and I talk to them about it, then some of the same students leave their books again. So they are intentionally doing it, not realizing that at the end of the year that their parents, you're going to have to pay for these books. At the end of the year, you're going to have to pay for them. I remember when I was a senior, I think I was a senior, junior or senior in high school, and I lost my French book. I lost my French book. And boy, I was so afraid. I was so scared. I was so scared to tell Mama that I lost my French book because I know I was going to get a whipping. We didn't have any money to pay for any book. I was so scared. And when school was almost out, the school had almost ended, someone found the book and gave it to me. Oh my God. I was spared. I was so scared until the point where, I cried. I cried because I knew what was going to happen to me for losing that book. But fortunately, that book was found. But for the most part, I kept my books close to me. I kept them close to me because I knew that my parents did not have any money to pay for any books. And then also, it's responsibility. You have to learn responsibility. You have to learn to take care of your things. I mean, it's just your responsibility to do that. So, you know, some of you need to teach your children responsibility. And also, parents, you need to teach your children accountability. Accountability. I think that sometimes we give our children too much. We give them too much, or we let them get away. That may be the right phrase. We let them get away with too many things, and we do not hold them accountable. Whenever your students are, or your children are not doing well in class, it is important that you impress upon them the importance of completing their assignments and studying at home. You should impress upon them to complete their work at home, study at home, do their homework. You have to do that because you are at home with them. You're at home with them. Even if they do not have any homework, they always have something to do. My English 1 students have a novel. My English 1 students should always be reading. They should always be reading. And my other classes, other students, all students should be reading. I don't care where you are. I don't care what state you're in, what country you're in. All students should be reading. And as I always say, it doesn't matter what you read. I remember when, you know, my father was an avid reader. Even though he didn't finish school, he went to about 10th grade. He was an avid reader. Whenever we would bring our textbooks home, he would read through all of them. He would read through all of our textbooks. And whenever, you know, I couldn't wait when I was in school. I couldn't wait for the teacher to pass out our reading books. Because whenever I got my reading books, I mean, I would just read everything. I would just read the entire book. And I was so excited whenever I got my reading book. And, you know, my parents did not have to tell me to do this or do that. You know, do your homework, read. They didn't have to tell me that because those are things that I wanted to do. Those are things that I wanted to do. Those are things that I knew that I had to do in order to get good grades. Okay? And I did care about my grades. Nobody had to make me care. It was something that I wanted. So parents, you need to be sure that your children are doing what they're supposed to do at home. They're doing what they're supposed to do at home. Now, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for teachers whenever the only punishment can't be, can they make it up? That cannot be the only punishment. Because if that's going to be the only punishment, then what accountability does the student have? Is the student being held accountable for anything? Whenever you say, can they make it up? That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't make it okay. If I allow them to make it up, what are they going to do the next time? Are they going to learn their lesson this time? Are they going to learn their lesson this time? If I allow them to make up something once, am I going to have to allow them to make up everything the entire year? That's not fair. That's not fair to all of the other students who are studying and they are doing what they are supposed to do. That is not fair. The accountability has to be shared. It has to be shared. It should not be just on the teacher. When the teacher has to go back and the teacher has to gather up assignments and the teacher has to regrade assignments. And for the same students all the time, unfair to those who are working extremely hard the first time. It's not fair. Now, if there are students who are making an effort, students who are making an effort, and students who are trying, that's a different story. But if we have students who just don't do, who come into class and misbehave and just don't do the work and don't even attempt, and then parents, we're asking for makeup for those students who are not even attempting, but just being disruptive in the classroom or just playing. That is not fair. Okay? You have to deal with your child. You have to set down some ground rules for your child. Your child should not have to make up every assignment. Now, in some cases, it might be, especially if those students have IEPs. Okay? I can understand that. And we're supposed to make accommodations for those students. But I'm talking about those students who are able to do the work, but they're just not doing it. They're capable of doing the work, but they're just not doing it. Because they know that their parents are going to come in and the parents are going to ask for, well, can they redo this? Can they redo that? Can they redo this? Can they redo that? What are we teaching our children? What are we teaching them? What is going to happen to them whenever they get out in the world? What's going to happen to them when they get out in the world? Whenever they go to college, those who are going to college, what's going to happen to them? What are we teaching them? Are we failing them? Are we failing our students? We have to ask ourselves that question. Are we failing them? Are we hurting them? And we're not preparing them for the real world. We're not preparing them for the real world. And I talked to students yesterday about their disrespect. And I'm not talking about just disrespecting adults, but I am talking about just disrespecting each other and arguing and picking with each other. And I told them that whenever you go out in the world, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't pick with anybody. You can't follow up everything because you don't know what people have. You don't know what they have. People don't fight fair now. The only thing that we fought with when we were coming up was our hands, our fists, fingernails, and those kinds of things. But that's not the case now. You can't go picking with everybody. Now, if you are doing this here, and if you carry that out somewhere else, then it might be really bad for you. So you have to learn to stop picking, and you have to learn not to follow up everything. Because you're going to meet the wrong person, or you're going to meet the right person sometimes. I know one of my principals used to say, you know what, you acting up now, but somewhere down the road, somebody's going to get you. Somebody's going to get you somewhere down the road. Parents, we need to talk to our children. We need to talk to our children. Be sure that they are being respectful of everyone and everybody. And they have to learn to be accountable. Parents have to be accountable. Teachers have to be accountable. Students have to be accountable. Administration has to be accountable. The district has to be accountable. Everybody has to be accountable for his or her part. Everything should not fall on the teacher. Because whenever everything boils down, it comes back to the teacher. It comes back to the teacher. The one who's probably doing the most work anyway. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And we're failing our students because we're not holding them accountable for anything. And that's how they're going to feel the rest of their lives, that they don't have to be accountable. But the world does not work that way. So they're going to be in for a rude awakening. They're going to be in for a rude awakening. So we have to get it together. We have to get it together. And we have to put accountability where accountability lies. And it is with everyone. We always says that it takes a village, not one person in the village. It takes the entire village. We say it, but do we practice it? We say it, but do we practice it? Well, it's time to do it. It's time to put accountability and responsibility where they lie. And we're not just putting the burden on just one person. It's just like if you're running a household and only one person in the house is paying the bills. Both of you working, but one person is paying the bills. Don't you think that that is going to cause a lot of problems, a lot of stress, a lot of headache for that one person who's trying to do everything? But what about whenever you come together and you do your part and your spouse does his or her part? Isn't that easier on everyone? It's easier on everyone. Everyone is happier because maybe I can go out and I can buy that dress that I want. I don't have to put all of my money in bills because my husband is helping me. We're working together. But now if we're working against each other, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And as I said, we're hurting our students. We are hurting them. Passing along is not it. Just passing along is not it. We're going to have, our students have to learn responsibility. Our students have to learn the work. And that's what I want for our students. So some of the students may think that I am mean, which I don't care whether they think that or not. But I told them that. And I want them to do the work. I want them to do the work. I want them to learn. But I'm not going to beg them. I'm not going to beg them when there are other students who sincerely want to learn. But if you don't want to learn, you're not going to disrespect me. You're not going to disrupt my classroom. And you're not going to disrespect me. And you know the consequences of not doing your work. Well, you're just going to repeat the grade. That's it. But you're not going to disrespect me. And you're not going to disrupt my classroom. And parents, I want you to understand that. I want you to understand that whenever I write a student up, it is usually because they are disrespecting me or they're disrupting the classroom. And I've told them, if you're disrupting my classroom, you got to get out of here. Because you are stopping one person from learning. If you're stopping one person from learning, that's one too many. So if you're disrupting my classroom, you got to go. Now, if you disrupted my classroom and you're disrespecting me, it's no chain of you, I talk to you, we have a conference, I call the parent, this, that. No, it's no chain of anything. You disrespect me, you gone if you disrespect me. If you disrupt the classroom, you need to get out here right away. You need to get out of here right away. Unless there's some problem that we might need to talk about. Or maybe the child needs to be referred somewhere. But disrespect and disruption, those are my two pet peeves. Disrespect, classroom disruption, my two pet peeves. If you respect me, you respect each other, and as I told my students, everything else will fall into place. If we just follow the rule of respect, everything else will fall into place. Because if we respect, then we're always going to do what we are supposed to do. We're always going to do what we're supposed to do whenever we respect. Whenever we respect. If you put your head on the desk, you're disrespecting me. You're disrespecting me. So you know what? If you respect me, you're going to say, oh, no, I'm not going to put my head on the desk because Ms. Giles is teaching. I'm not doing that. I'm going to respect her. I'm going to respect her. Now, if I were in a faculty meeting and the principal is speaking and I have my head on the desk, I'm disrespecting my principal. I'm disrespecting my principal. So if we respect each other, we're going to do what we're supposed to do. We're going to do what we're supposed to do, and everything else will fall into place. If all of us work together and put accountability where accountability lies, our students will do better. our students will do better. And what all of us want, and I'm sure that this is what parents want too. We want our scores to go up. We want our scores to go up. But in order to do that, we're going to have to teach our children. We're going to have to really teach them. And they're going to have to do their part in order to get the information. Parents, you're going to have to do your part to be sure that your children are doing what they are supposed to do so that they can learn the information. And I'm not saying that they're learning just for a test. No. They should not be learning just for a test. They're learning for life. They're learning for life lessons. They're learning for life lessons. So we have to get more serious about this thing we call education. We have to get more serious about it. And all of us have to do our parts. We do. We do. Now, I am serious. I told my students that sometimes I may not say anything, but I'm observing. I'm observing. Sometimes I laugh with you. Sometimes I laugh with you. But you better get your work. I'll laugh with you, but you better get your work. You better get your work. And before parents, because I know that some parents get upset whenever they see a bad grade. Whenever they see their child has a bad grade. Check with your child first. Check with your child. Ask your child, well, why do you have this grade? Why do you have this grade? Check with them first. Check with me. Check with me. But check with your child first. Check with your child first. Maybe your child didn't do the assignment. Maybe your child, and God forbid, cheated. But, find out. Email me. Set up a conference with me. But also check with your child. That's a part of accountability. That's a part of accountability. And I had this conversation with you because I care. I care about your students. I care about their learning. I really do. I've always been a stickler for education. A stickler for education. That's why I'm still in the business. 63 years old, but I'm still in the business because I've always been a stickler for education. I love teaching. I love learning. I took a class this summer and I loved it. I loved it. And I passed the class with a 99 average because I loved it. I love learning. I've always loved learning. Ever since I can remember myself. Ever since I can remember myself, I loved learning. I just loved it, to learn new stuff. I want to impart that love for learning to our students. I want to impart that love for learning. I want to impart that love for learning to our students, because it is very important that they learn in order to survive in this world and in order to compete against others, not just in their little city or town or county, but globally. Globally, they have to compete against others, and they need to learn that it's not just their city, it's not just their town, it's not just their county that they are competing against, but they are competing globally. Think about those students who are competing to get into medical school. Think about those students who are competing to get into medical school. It's not just students in your city. It's not just students in your district. We're talking about students all over the world who are fighting to get into medical school. And we know that they're only going to choose the best. We know that. They're only going to choose the best. And I'm not bragging, but I just want to end with this. But my niece, Dr. Jocelyn McGill, graduated from veterinary medical school this summer. And she's a doctor. She's a veterinarian. And she is working in Myrtle Beach. She's working in Myrtle Beach. She had a house built in Myrtle Beach, and she's working in Myrtle Beach. But she is a veterinarian. Dr. Jocelyn McGill. And I am so proud of her. The first doctor in our family. The first doctor in our family. I was a first. I was the first child to graduate from college out of the 6 children. And then after I graduated, my brother, who is Jocelyn's father, graduated from college. So we're the only 2 of the 6 children that went to college. And my brother loved learning just as much as I did. He still does. He still does. Joseph McGill. And I know some of you know him or you've heard of him, who founded the Slave Dwelling Project, who travels the country sleeping in slave cabins. Who has written a book, Sleeping with the Ancestors. So, students, it just shows to do. I mean, it just shows what you are capable of doing whenever you put your minds to it. whenever you put your minds to it. But you just have to you just have to be serious. And you can't start being serious when you become a senior. It starts now. It starts now. I had an eighth grader talking to me the other day, and he told me what he wanted to do, and I'm trying to remember. Excuse me. He told me what he wanted to do. I don't remember what he said he wanted to do, but just hearing an eighth grader talk like that, just hearing an eighth grader talk, saying, what I want to do whenever I graduate. And I told him, I said, I love hearing that. I love hearing that. What you want to do from an eighth grader. And he was serious. He was very serious. It wasn't anything that he was joking about. He was very serious about it. And that just made me feel so good. Because I really see that he's working to do that. He demonstrates this in class. He demonstrates this in class that he is working to do what he wants to do. Now, if he were just talking and not doing what he was supposed to do, not doing his work, then, I don't know whether I would have gotten that feeling. But this is a student that works really hard. This is a student that works really hard. And I just love hearing that kind of talk. Then there's another student in my class, and I can just, I just love this. That whenever I am teaching, he's always looking at me. Always. He's a smart student too. He gets his work. He doesn't play about his work. His mother doesn't play about his work either. But he looks at me. He follows me. Wherever I go in the classroom, he follows me. His eyes follow me wherever I go. I can see him paying attention. I can see him paying attention. And it's no pretense. Because, you have some students just looking at you. But it's no pretense. He's taking it in. He's taking it in. He wants to take it in. He wants to learn. His eyes follow me everywhere I go. Whenever I am speaking. Whenever I am speaking, his eyes follow me everywhere I go. And I love that. I love that. Those are the moments that a teacher is proud. Whenever he or she sees that a student is really interested. And then we have the student in the corner that's going to disrupt this young man who's following me, whose eyes are following me everywhere. And we have the student in the corner who is over there in the back making noise and not paying attention and getting out of his seat and doing this and doing that. When this young man is trying to hear everything that I say, can you understand why that student has to get out of my class? Why someone has to come and get that student? Because you're disrupting that student whose eyes are following me everywhere I go. This student who wants to learn, and you're not going to disrupt him. You're not going to do it. You're not going to disrupt the learning process. It's not fair to that one student. And I know that it's more than one in the class, but I'm just using an example. It's not fair to this one student who wants to hear everything that I say. He wants to hear everything that I say. And I want him to hear everything that I say. And you're not going to disrupt it. You're not. So I just wanted to have that little talk with you today. Now, I have to plan. Thank you for listening.